It's just an onion until you realize it's part of one of the most advanced and unpredictable systems in global trade. Behind every bulb is AI, agroforestry, tech, and high-stakes logistics. One delay can wreck a shipment, one shift in weather can flip prices worldwide. It's not just farming anymore, and once you see what really moves these onions, you'll never call it simple again. There's a reason onions are in your kitchen, on your burger, in your salad, even hiding in your grandma's secret soup recipe. Behind that humble bulb is a marvel of coordination that spans continents, combines ancient farming wisdom with bleeding-edge tech, and relies on precise timing like a Swiss watch. People talk about gold and oil, but onions? They move economies, feed nations, and keep farmers' futures hanging in the balance. Let's start in the dirt, because that's where all good onion stories begin. Now, onions don't get plucked from the ground and tossed straight onto a truck. Oh no. First, there's the harvest, a process that feels more like choreography than labor. You've got to hit that sweet spot when the tops begin to flop over, signaling the bulb has fully matured. Pull them too early, and you sacrifice flavor and shelf life. Too late, you risk rot. Timing's everything, and farmers know it. Once harvested, the real waiting game begins: drying, or as the industry pros call it, curing. This step is non-negotiable. It's not just about drying the outer skin, it's about locking in longevity. Onions are cured in the field or under covered structures with excellent airflow. This process, often lasting 2 to 3 weeks, lets the neck seal tight and the papery skin harden like armor. Without curing, you'd be biting into a slimy mess within days. In places like California's Central Valley or India's Nashik region, you'll see acres of onions sunbathing under nets, soaking in just enough heat to shed their moisture, but not so much that they cook. Next up, grading. Now, grading onions isn't just about size. It's a symphony of metrics: shape, color, firmness, peel quality, absence of mold, and overall uniformity. Larger bulbs may get boxed for supermarkets, while medium-sized ones go bulk for food service. Smaller or less than perfect ones, processed for dehydrated powders or canned goods, nothing goes to waste. Tech is starting to step in here too. AI-powered graders scan each bulb faster than the human eye ever could, ensuring consistent quality for global trade. And speaking of global trade, now we're entering the onion superhighway. Zoom in on Nashik, India, often called the onion capital of the East. This city doesn't sleep during peak harvest. Warehouses buzz with forklifts, trucks line up like dominoes, and containers are loaded with surgical precision. From here, onions travel out across Asia and the Gulf. Some travel to ports like Mumbai for ocean freight, others catch regional trains for domestic markets. India has long been a dominant player, especially when export bans aren't in effect. We'll talk about that later. Then there's Shandong Province in China, an agricultural tech giant in its own right. Their systems are optimized to the core. Farmers leverage satellite data to predict yield, while cold air tunnels help with uniform curing. China's onions often head to Southeast Asia, Korea, and parts of the EU. But perhaps the most fascinating player? The Netherlands. This tiny country punches way above its weight in the onion game. It's not the biggest grower, but it's a powerhouse re-exporter. Dutch ports, particularly Rotterdam, serve as major consolidation hubs. Onions from Africa, Latin America, and Eastern Europe pass through the Netherlands, get regraded, repackaged, and rerouted across the globe. Efficiency is an art form here, and it's fueled by some of the world's most advanced agroforestry logistics systems. Now, let's talk transport. Onions aren't shipped the way your Amazon package is. Most commonly, they're packed in jute or mesh bags. That's right, breathable, sustainable, and shock-absorbing, then loaded into ventilated containers. These containers allow just the right airflow to keep humidity levels low, preventing rot during long voyages. On regional routes, you'll see bulk shipping, entire trucks or boats carrying tons of loose onions straight to market. And in rare cases, yes, onions do fly. Air freight is used for high-demand, high-margin markets or emergency supply gaps. Think typhoon aftermaths or sudden export bans. Let's bring in a real face here. Meet Sandeep Patel, a second-generation farmer from Maharashtra. His entire operation revolves around onions. During harvest, he hires nearly 50 local workers to help with pulling, curing, and bagging. His brother handles tech, monitoring weather through apps, watching market prices in real time, booking container slots through digital platforms. A few years back, a perfectly timed shipment to Dubai during Ramadan tripled their earnings, but they've also lost entire truckloads stuck at port due to a missed customs clearance. For the Patels, onions aren't just a crop, they're life, income, and legacy rolled into one. The entire flow, from soil to ship, is a synchronized dance of agriculture and technology. And that's just the start of the onion's trip. But if you think the hard part ends once it's packed and shipped, think again. The road ahead gets bumpy, literally and figuratively. Because onions, for all their toughness, are surprisingly fragile, and even one misstep in handling can set off a chain reaction that turns a golden harvest into a soggy disaster. Now here's the thing most folks don't realize. Onions are stubborn, but not invincible. They might not need refrigeration like milk or strawberries, but that doesn't mean they can handle abuse. In fact, onions are some of the most deceptively delicate products in agriculture. And when you're moving millions of tons around the world each year, the smallest slip-up can snowball into a full-blown crisis. Start with the basics. Perishability. You might look at a big sack of onions and think, these things could survive an apocalypse. But let's get one thing straight. Humidity is their worst enemy. Give them too much of it, and they'll turn into a moldy, weepy mess that smells like heartbreak. Give them too little, and the bulbs bruise and dry out, becoming rubbery shadows of what they were meant to be. Unlike fruits that ripen in cold storage, onions thrive best in well-aerated, ambient conditions. Just enough dryness to toughen them up, just enough airflow to keep them breathing. It's a delicate dance. And let me tell you, technology is starting to catch up, but nature's margin for error is still razor thin. Now imagine this. A farmer ships a pristine container of onions halfway across the globe. They're packed, cured, ventilated, textbook perfection. But then, customs clearance stalls. Maybe there's a clerical error, maybe a holiday closes the port for a few extra days, maybe a random inspection delays offloading. Whatever the reason, every extra day the container sits unventilated is another nail in the coffin. By the time it clears, mold, odor, and shrinkage. The whole batch might be declared unsellable. That's thousands of dollars gone in a blink, and trust me, there's no refund button for that kind of loss. But these logistical landmines are just the tip of the iceberg. Let's talk about macro-scale economic shocks. Weather patterns are becoming more erratic, and agriculture doesn't like surprises. A sudden drought in India, floods in Bangladesh, or unexpected frost in parts of Eastern Europe can crush yields overnight. And when supply drops, prices skyrocket. It's classic economics, but in this game, there's no luxury of time. Onion prices can double in a matter of days, and that ripple spreads across borders like wildfire. Take India's export bans, for example. When domestic prices soar, the government often steps in to halt exports to protect internal markets. Sounds logical, right? But that move pulls the rug out from under thousands of exporters mid-shipment. Ports go on hold, buyers panic, and black market deals start creeping in. Meanwhile, import-dependent countries like Sri Lanka, the UAE, or Bangladesh scramble for alternative suppliers. You can bet that cold chain tech and AI forecasting don't mean much when geopolitics hit the brakes. This is where tech meets turbulence, and not always in a graceful way. And let's not ignore how conflict zones can destabilize the whole grid. Ukraine, for example, was a rising player in onion production, especially for Eastern Europe. When war disrupted their agricultural zones, neighboring countries suddenly had to step up. But with broken supply lines, fuel shortages, and shifting labor availability, even the best systems struggle to adapt. And if you think onion shortages don't make headlines, think again. In some regions, they've sparked protests, hoarding, and full-blown political blowback. Of course, every region has its quirks. Let's take a quick tour of some of the more colorful challenges in the onion world. Ever seen onions floating in boats like lotus flowers? Welcome to Bangladesh's river trade. In low-lying areas like Barisal, farmers load freshly harvested onions onto wooden canoes and float them downstream to village markets. No forklifts, no GPS tracking, just tides, tradition, and hope. It's charming, sure, but also wildly vulnerable to spoilage if the rains come too early or tides run too low. Or picture this, a caravan of onions hauled by camel across remote Saharan trade routes in northern Africa. It sounds like something out of a history book, but it's happening today. These aren't tourists, they're traders keeping traditional supply lines alive where paved roads don't reach. And while this might make for a great photo op, the truth is, it's slow, bumpy, and offers zero temperature control. One sandstorm and the whole load is compromised. Even in high-tech environments, fragility persists. Consider onions stored in open-air depots in West Africa, exposed to unpredictable rainstorms or fungal outbreaks. In countries without robust agroforestry infrastructure, a good harvest doesn't guarantee a good outcome. It all hinges on the post-harvest process, and that's where many systems still fall dangerously short. What ties all this together? A fragile balance. Tech can help, sure. You've got logistics apps tracking cargo in real time and predictive models gauging demand weeks in advance. But those tools are only as strong as the systems that support them. And right now, the onion trade is a web of moving parts held together by experience, instinct, and increasingly, a prayer or two. Still, even amid the chaos, something fascinating is happening. Behind the scenes, a quiet revolution of innovation is taking root. New ideas, smarter systems, and game-changing tech are beginning to rewire how onions are grown, stored, and shipped. Because for every problem this industry faces, there's someone out there tinkering with a solution. And just like that, the story turns toward innovation, a whole new chapter where agroforestry meets algorithms and a humble onion becomes a poster child for sustainable, tech-driven agriculture. It's funny how something as ordinary as an onion is pushing the envelope in tech. Quietly, behind the scenes, this everyday staple has become a testing ground for some of the most interesting innovations in agriculture and logistics. It's not flashy, but that's part of the charm. Big shifts are happening where nobody's looking. Start with the packaging. Those basic mesh sacks you're used to, they're getting a serious upgrade. Some exporters are using materials that pull excess moisture out of the air or absorb ethylene, the gas that triggers decay in produce. Keeping that under control can buy a few extra weeks of shelf life, which in the shipping world is a lifetime. A longer shelf life doesn't just protect profits, it gives flexibility. If a container gets held up at port or rerouted, the onions don't immediately start breaking down. And that's not just useful, it's a safety net. Behind that is a different kind of magic: data. These days, onions don't just move, they get tracked, modeled, and optimized. AI is learning the quirks of global markets and helping farmers and exporters stay ahead. Algorithms scan for weather shifts, port delays, regional demand spikes, then suggest when and where to ship, often with eerie precision. It's not replacing human instinct, just sharpening it. A grower in India can now know which day to pull his crop and which container line is least likely to get jammed in Dubai. That's no small feat. Tech is even starting to push into the cold chain space, an area traditionally reserved for strawberries and dairy. Onions usually do just fine at ambient temperatures, but some specialty varieties, think sweet reds or high-end yellows, are being tested in refrigerated units. It's experimental, sure, and expensive, but early results are promising. Better color, longer freshness, zero rot. It's not for every market, but for premium exports, it could open doors. What's surprising is how these changes ripple out. Refrigerated shipping creates demand for better sensors. Better sensors lead to smarter storage facilities. It's all connected. Even the way trucks are packed is being reworked. Optimization software now plans loads not just by weight, but by air circulation and even road type. A bumpy highway can bruise onions. A hot container parked too long without airflow? That's a recipe for spoilage. Smart routing avoids those traps. Sustainability is catching up too. A lot of exporters are tossing out the plastic. They're switching to jute or biodegradable mesh, materials that breathe better and don't choke landfills. That shift isn't just environmental, it's practical. Mesh that allows more airflow cuts mold risk during long hauls, especially in humid climates. You wouldn't think a simple change in bagging would make a difference, but it does. Digitization is trimming the fat from border processes. Instead of stacks of paperwork and a clerk's mood deciding whether your shipment clears today or next week, digital documents and blockchain trails are speeding up customs in key regions. Less waiting means less spoilage, and more transparency means buyers can verify origin, handling, and even chemical use, all from a dashboard. Trust is becoming part of the product. There's a quiet efficiency spreading in the background, and not just among the big players. Even smaller farmers are getting access to mobile tools that monitor curing times, soil moisture, and shipment schedules. They're not replacing tradition, they're building on it. That means less guesswork, fewer lost loads, and smarter scaling. The farmer who used to sell locally can now tap a broader network with confidence because the tools to support him finally exist. It's the mix of old world crop and new world thinking that makes all this fascinating. Onions don't care about innovation. But the people who grow, pack, and move them? They're hungry for better systems. Systems that protect their work, grow their margins, and open up new lanes for trade. The whole industry is slowly becoming more agile, more aware, and more resilient. And as the pressure keeps building, climate shifts, political bans, labor shortages, it's clear that adaptation isn't a choice, it's a survival strategy. Innovation is becoming second nature. What comes next, though, might be even more unexpected. If you never thought onions could be this complicated or this fascinating, now you know. From ancient farms to AI-powered exports, it's clear agriculture and technology are no longer separate worlds. So here's the big question. What other foods are quietly running on systems this advanced? What surprised you most about how onions are handled, shipped, or preserved? Ever thought a missed shipment could crash markets? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear them. And if you want to keep learning about the wild side of agriculture and the tech shaping it, make sure to subscribe and tap that bell. Don't miss the next video showing right here on your screen. It's packed with more insight you won't get anywhere else.